Have you ever felt completely stuck choosing between an AI model that's super powerful but really expensive and one that's cheap but, well, kind of limited? Today, we're diving into a breakthrough that lets you get the best of both worlds. We're going to see how you can teach small, local AI models the skills of their giant, expensive cousins, saving you a ton of time and money in the process. Right, so if you're a developer, you know this dilemma. It's the classic choice. Do I go for the cutting-edge, state-of-the-art model that costs a fortune every time I run it? Or do I stick with a faster, cheaper local model that just can't hack it on the really tough domain-specific stuff? It always feels like a compromise. But what if it didn't have to be? So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with that power dilemma, then introduce a really cool new idea called agent skills. We'll meet the tool that makes it all happen, walk through its teacher-student workflow, look at some seriously impressive test results, and then wrap up with why this should matter to you and your projects. Okay, let's kick things off with that fundamental challenge. It really, truly boils down to this constant trade-off between how much a model can do and how much it costs you to get it done. This slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the heavy hitters, the giant state-of-the-art models. Their capabilities are incredible, no doubt, but they come with a hefty price tag, and they can be kind of slow, which is a real pain for repetitive tasks. Then on the other hand, you've got your local models running right on your machine. They're lightning fast, they're free, but they just don't have that deep, specialized knowledge for the hard problems. It really feels like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. But this is where a new idea enters the picture. It's an idea designed specifically to bridge that gap between power and price. And we're talking about something called agent skills. So, what in the world is an agent skill? Well, think of it like a pre-packaged piece of expertise. It's just a set of instructions and some code, saved as simple files, that you can hand over to an AI model. And just like that, you give the model a brand new, very specific ability that it can use over and over again. You know, the best way to think about it is like a recipe. Imagine a master chef creates this perfect, super detailed recipe for a really complicated dish. Now, pretty much any decent cook can grab that recipe and, successfully make the dish. An agent skill is exactly that, but for an AI. So who's our master chef? Well, the tool that actually creates these recipes is a command line tool called Upskill. You can think of it as an AI tutor for your other AIs. This quote right here just nails the whole idea. You use one of those powerful, expensive models just one time to create the skill, to write the recipe. Then you hand that skill off to your cheaper, local models to use for all your day-to-day tasks. It's kind of like a Robin Hood for AI knowledge, right? You take the knowledge from the rich models and give it to the lean, fast ones.
All right, so how does Upskill actually pull this off? How does it transfer the knowledge? It uses this beautifully simple process that they call the teacher-student model.
It works in 3 simple steps. First, you have the teacher. This is our big, smart model, and you give it a complex problem to solve. As it's working, it leaves behind a trace, which is basically a recording of everything it did. Second, the Upskill tool comes in and takes that trace and distills it down into a reusable skill. That's our lesson. And super importantly, it also creates tests to make sure the lesson is actually correct. And finally, you have the student, which is our smaller model. It gets this new skill, and now it can perform that same complex task all by itself. Now, this all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Let's take a look at a test. The team decided to teach a model how to write CUDA kernels. Now, these are super specialized programs for running on GPUs, and it's a notoriously difficult task for any AI. And the results are, honestly, they're stunning. They took a local model and tested it on this really hard task. On its own, its baseline accuracy was only 40%. Not great. But after they gave it a skill that was created by a more powerful model, its accuracy shot up to 85%. It literally more than doubled its effectiveness on a task it was failing at before. I mean, that's a 45 percentage point jump in accuracy. That is a massive, massive leap in capability. It just goes to show how effective this knowledge transfer really is. But here's the thing. Performance isn't just about getting the right answer. It's also about efficiency. And in the world of AI, efficiency usually boils down to the number of tokens or, pieces of words the model has to process. Fewer tokens means faster results and, more importantly, lower costs. And this is where the evaluation tools in Upskill really shine. Check out this table. It shows 3 different models tested with the exact same skill. A big model like Kini gets a perfect score, but it uses a lot of tokens. And get this,
The most powerful model, Opus, is so smart it doesn't even need the skill. The skill actually makes it less efficient. But look at the smaller model, Haiku. It gets an 80% pass rate, which might be perfectly good enough for your needs, but it uses way fewer tokens. This is how you find that perfect sweet spot between cost and performance for whatever you're trying to do. So let's bring this all back home. What does this actually mean for you and the projects that you're working on day to day? Because the applications here are incredibly practical. I mean, just think about the possibilities here. You could teach a simple AI to use your company's complex internal tools and APIs. You could build a whole library of shared skills for your team, so everybody solves the same hard problems in the same correct way. Imagine capturing that tribal knowledge from your most senior developers and turning it into a reusable skill that never gets lost. And like we just saw, you can benchmark different models to find the absolute most cost-effective one for any given job. And you know what the best part is? Getting started couldn't be simpler. It's just one command in your terminal. That's literally all it takes to start creating and deploying your very own agent skills. This really does change the game for how we can use AI. Instead of just being stuck with the out-of-the-box abilities of whatever model we choose, we can now become its teacher. We can shape it. So that leaves one final question for you. What's that one complex, annoying, domain-specific problem you've been banging your head against? What hard problem will you teach your AI first?